Hello, before we start this video, just a quick reminder, if you want to get in touch with me or ask me anything or contact me, the best way is probably with Twitter. Follow me there at YourPalRags. If you really like my videos and enjoy the free content, the best way to reciprocate is just to send me a little something on Patreon every month. The money I get from Patreon helps me do things like stay part-time, and crowdfunding is way better of a way to make money as a pseudo second income source I have instead of getting sponsorships from companies and things. So, it's totally okay if you can't do it or you just don't think I'm good enough. That's fine, whatever, bro. But I hear the people who do have exceptionally large penises. And I mean, come on, why wouldn't you after all? I mean, I'm so handsome, clever, witty, charming, sexy. Now, I don't really have an upload schedule, and I don't necessarily plan out a lot of the videos that I do. Sometimes I have an idea and I write it down and I get to it later. But a lot of the times there are some videos and they're just kind of spontaneous. And this is one of those videos, because it kind of pisses me off. It's about labels, it's about identity politics. It's about what we are and not who we are. It's about we have to be A because we're B, and you have to be C because you're D. And that's not the D I'm interested in, if you catch my meaning. Speaking of being a faggot, I don't like how identity politics are used to lump me into groups that I don't associate with, at least not in this way. I don't represent anybody except myself, and nobody in another group represents me unless I've elected them. A white guy in a group doesn't represent whites. A gay person in a group doesn't represent gays. A black person in a group doesn't represent blacks. And in the same way, we have the LGBT demographic. Emphasis on demographic. Because I'm certainly not part of any LGBT community. I mean, I guess a threesome would be the closest I've gotten to that. Trends in social justice often use minority statuses or sexual orientations or the way people identify to weaponize identity itself. If you couldn't pick up the subtle hints I've been laying down, I like chicks and dicks. However, I do not speak for any bisexual person other than myself. And it makes me irate when people try to take that identity, if that's what you want to identify as, and use that as some sort of a device to speak for other people or act like you're speaking for other people. You're not, so quit it. No one speaks for me but myself, especially when it comes to video gaming. We see things like the gay pride movement, something I've never really associated myself with at all. I don't feel proud, not of my sexuality, and I certainly don't feel proud because of my sexuality paired with gaming. Why should I? What's to feel proud about? I'd much rather feel pride about things that, I actually choose, or my accomplishments, decisions I've made, choices I've decided upon, challenges I've overcome. I think that's probably the biggest reason why I've never identified or I've never really associated myself with LGBT pride movements. I mean, good job, I guess, at being gay? I know that must have been really hard for you. Well, maybe that, okay, the poor wording. Anyway, I think that's enough of my opening point. I think you get the idea. Let's get into these videos released by Xbox not too long ago. Yeah, the official Xbox channel, 1.9 million subs, the Xbox channel. This is them, Microsoft's Xbox. Boom. LGBTQ in gaming at GDC 2017. Nice like to dislike ratio, Xbox. You really nailed it out of the park on this one. Unlike your E3 conference, which was shite. Here, let me leave a comment so that, oh, of course the comments are disabled. Nothing says conversation starter like disabled comments. Oh boy, what I would give to have seen those comments before they were disabled. Gaming for everyone, but I'm not gonna hold my breath and wait for the whites in gaming video. You're gay, here's an armband. Oh, you're a lesbian, here's this armband.
People who are LGBTQ are already underrepresented in gaming, so I think it's really important to have these kinds of events so we can meet each other.
Alright, we're a sentence in and it's already retarded. Now, I've been playing video games longer than I've known I'm bisexual, and it's not like you wake up one day and say to yourself, you know what, I could really use a dick in my mouth. But during all that time and all the games and all the people that I've met online or that I've shared a couch with, it never dawned on me that some of them might be gay, some of them might be bisexual, some of them might be trans, some of them might be lesbians. It just never even crossed my mind. What is the sexuality of the other gamers that I'm playing with? I certainly never thought, gosh, I need to travel to a place where all of these gay and lesbian and bisexual gamers can congregate. Is it not enough to have a convention for gamers where everybody can use their mutual love of video games to, meet one another? This almost seems like some sort of a weird glorified Craigslist ad seeking LGBT folks who are also gamers to meet in certain location. P.S. No fursuits.
And form a community and support each other, encourage each other, and really strengthen each other as a community within gaming.
A community in a community. How far down the rabbit hole shall we go? I thought gamers were a community. Well, they kind of are. They're probably more of a demographic than a community, but now we're getting into semantics. I just think it's strange that you have video games, which are, well, it's a meritocracy in this sort of way, where everyone can come together no matter who you are, no matter what your sexuality is, your race, your nationality, your gender, your age, all of that. Everyone can come together and agree upon a set rule list, and you can have fun and play games and be competitive and cooperate. Video games are the great uniter of peoples, but things like this seem divisive more than, well, unifying. Within gaming, it's taking something that has absolutely nothing gaming to be some sort of a splinter group within gaming. Your sexuality, my sexuality, it doesn't have shit to do with video games. I mean, is it gaming for everyone, or is it gaming for LGBTQ?
See, like, big events like this where there's such a huge variety of people from such different backgrounds.
Well, I mean, except for straight people, you know? This isn't a place for them. Even though my sexuality has nothing to do with video games, I feel the need to have it validated or supported in some way, regardless.
It's been really valuable, and to have something so like open-facing and from such a huge platform holder has been really exciting.
Really, you need validation from a corporation who they don't give a shit about you. You need a corporation to validate for you other gamers who share this one trait with you that actually has nothing to do with gaming. Do you know how soulless that sounds?
I think as an industry, we've taken a long time to adapt to including players outside of the usual expectations.
What do you mean adapt to including you? You were never excluded. I was never excluded. It's not like you would go to GameStop or you would go to a start menu in a video game and you'd say, oh, hold on, we could feel the gay coming through the controller. You're not allowed to play this game. Madam, sorry, but I believe you're a lesbian. This game is not for you. You're not allowed to play this game, actually. This game was made for white men, specifically straight white men. However, we will accept a 75% discount on Asians. The Irish will be judged on an individual basis. Look, I'm a bisexual, atheist, trans canine, and I've never asked myself, does this game properly represent me? Does this game have a protagonist or characters in it that I can relate to because my identity is X, Y, and Z? Sometimes I think I need to ask these people, if you feel like you need to have media and games and movies and stuff be representations of you personally in your life that has nothing to do with the media itself, maybe that says something more about you than it does the media. Because video games never stopped anyone from picking them up and playing them. Girls, boys, straight, gay, tall, short, black, white. Gaming has always included you, since day one. You think when I found out I was bisexual, all of a sudden the games I played became problematic? No! I played games the same I had always been. Except now I just like taking it in the ass from a hottie like a bitch.
I think an event like this today helps us to think about the people who weren't around the table for a long time.
Stop saying that. That's ridiculous. They were there the entire time. They were next to you playing with you the entire time. They just didn't feel the need to try and project themselves onto everything that was presented to them. They didn't whine and bitch and moan because not everybody else shared this one thing, this one characteristic about them that had nothing to do with the games they were actually playing. What, you think games just decided one day to start restricting people from playing them and enjoying them based on these completely irrelevant attributes?
And just get more people involved in the conversations.
Yeah, let's get everyone involved in the conversation.
If you have different gender identity than a lot of people, or if you have a different sexual orientation than a lot of people...
No one gives a shit about your sexual orientation or your identity. That's your business. End of list of people of whose business that is. Yours. One person. If you identify as a woman, fine, whatever. If you identify as gay, fine, whatever. If you identify as trans, queer, pans, demisexual, non-binary, Muslim, atheist, something queer again, Christian, from Idaho. No one cares, though you do have excellent potatoes. That's your business. That just you. No one cares about, no one should care about that except for you, right? And if you need other people to care about it, to make you feel better about it, that's weird and you have issues. And if you feel you have to take over or control or co-opt the creative decisions other people, actual producers in this world, of the things they want to do just so you feel better about yourself, you can fuck off. Why do you feel like you have this obligation to tell the world how special you feel you are?
There are a lot of experiences that are specific to that, both as a gamer and within the game industry, and it's really important to be able to connect with people, share experiences, build that solidarity, and build those connections.
Well, you know what? I must be just a really shitty, awful, terrible person. Because I'm part of LGBTQ. I'm the B. I'm bisexual. And as I've played games, right, I have never felt this need to have other people in video games be like me. He said it's really important that we be able to connect with one another and share experiences. We do that all the time in video games. All the damn time. In fact, video gaming, the multiplayer aspect, the connect, it's about sharing experiences. Sharing an experience is the core part of video games. And if you feel that you can't connect with other people, if you feel like you can't share experiences with other people in video games because they are not attracted to the same set of dangly bits as you, then maybe you have a problem. Maybe you're trying too hard to see yourself in other people. This is such an alien concept to me. Maybe I'm missing something, all right? Maybe I don't know there must be something I'm missing here. Because I'm bisexual and I've never felt any of this crap before. When I sit down to play games, I'll play games with other gamers. It doesn't matter who they are. It doesn't matter if they're black or white or blue or green or if they're from Asia or if they're from Europe. Actually, it does matter. Their ping's higher. It doesn't matter if they're straight or if they're gay or if they're lesbian or bisexual or transgender. None of that matters. Video games set us up in a kind of environment where that stuff doesn't even need to come into the equation, where those things are either superficial or irrelevant. If you can't connect with other gamers because they're not attracted to dick in just the super special way that you are, maybe something's wrong with you. Maybe you have problems accepting yourself. Maybe you have issues that you need to resolve. Let me open up a little bit here. I live in Arkansas in the United States, right? Bible Belt. Everyone believes in God, and they're a Southern Baptist or a Southern Methodist or a Southern something. And my parents are super conservative and they're super religious. And if they found out that I was a bisexual atheist who's actually slept with dudes, Lord knows how they would react. I have no idea how they would take that. In fact, the reason I never want them to find out about this channel is not because of how I would take it, but because of how they would take it. I'm worried they would be heartbroken. I'd be worried they would be traumatized emotionally. It's for them, not for me. And video games is the place that I can go to and not have to worry about anything like that my parents would worry about. They're from a different time, from a different mindset, and I love them both to death very much. I just don't think they would understand in ways that people I meet every day on the internet do, in ways that people in video games do. Because I decided I would never see myself as some sort of a victimized person. I would never see myself as someone who needed to be coddled or who needed to be validated by anybody else except myself. Because video games are a two-way street in that regard. It doesn't matter what I am. It doesn't matter what they are. What matters is that we can come together because video games set an environment up where those things might as well not even exist. Where it's who we are that matters, not what we are. Video games are a place where identity politics should be rendered completely null and void. And yet for some reason they want to drag identity politics into video games. Why would you ever want to do that?
I think it's important for people to see that there's opportunity for everyone to be creative and to be their authentic self.
And we have that right now. That exists right now in video games. You can be whatever you want to be. You can do whatever you want to do as long as it's not breaking the rules, but everyone has to follow the same rules. The issue is that you can't have it both ways. You can't be yourself and then expect for everyone to love you for it. Because sometimes, whether you like it or not, some people are just shitty. Some people are just uninteresting. Some people are just dull and boring. Some people are just foul and toxic. You are an imperfect person, just like me. Maybe I'm closer than you. But all of us are imperfect. And if you're trying to tell people to be themselves, that's fine and dandy. But not everyone's going to like who you are. And it's better that we just come to terms with that and accept it, instead of trying to create these big hug boxes where people will try to support you based on what you are and not who you are. That actually wraps this one up. These are pretty short. It just finishes off and shows you all these sexual deviants talking to one another. Then it says gaming for everybody after proceeding to separate them into groups. Next up we have women in gaming. It's another short little video. Women in Gaming 17th Annual Women in Gaming Luncheon. Because nothing says community like also having a vagina with the other person. I mean, you don't want to talk about games with boys around, do you?
I think I come to GDC just for this luncheon.
The sandwiches are just to die for.
I think it is such a great event, and I think it really just kind of fuels your soul and energy. It's such a great event.
Wow, you said absolutely nothing.
What's really great about it is that you're able to really walk up to anybody, shake their hand, introduce yourself, and make a relationship that hopefully you're going to be able to carry forward.
Well, what if they're a man? Well, what then? What happens then? What if they don't have a vagina like you are? What if you shake hands with a man? What, it doesn't matter? Then why have the conference? If women can have fulfilling relationships and they can trust other people and they could forge friendships, well, why have the conference at all? If we're just going to establish right off the bat, it doesn't have to be with another woman.
When you come to events like this and you get to meet women who work in sectors of the industry that maybe you know nothing about, that's an opportunity for you to educate yourself and allow them to spread their message, and I think that that's an incredible opportunity.
Yeah, what's the message, though? Is it something relating directly to their femininity? Again, the obstacles that we have in gaming are the same for everybody. I mean, challenges, difficulties, barriers, obstacles that we face in video games, they're the same for everyone. What am I supposed to get out of this? A feminist perspective on how to defeat the ice dragon in the Tomb of 1,000 Screams? You know, the more I watch these, the more it's not so much about gaming as it is you just finding some hug box to feel better about what you are.
It's just great and wonderful knowing that we all can be in like really high positions and we can do what we want to do. We just have to push for it.
You know, kind of like men.
Right now, we're such a small group, small part of the industry. We are getting bigger year after year, which is amazing, and this event continues to grow, so that is awesome for us.
Now, this person is Nicole Fawcett. Now, she works for marketing with Xbox, and she's a women in gaming lead. So, I mean, cynicism aside about having there be an actual financial benefit for you to have a larger pool of people to draw upon to fund your group, I'm sure your heart is in the right place. Though I do have to wonder when people start saying, oh, we need more of this type of person in this group, my first instinct is to ask why. Why do we need more women in game development? Why do we need more women in gaming? There's nothing wrong with them being there, but it seems to be that women make their own choices to be where they want to be. Why do you feel like you need to pressure or push them into doing these things? And this is a legitimate question. Why would more women in gaming be better? What percentage of gamers need to be women for us to have the optimal scenario for the industry? 50%? 60? 40? 80? 90? What is the optimal percentage of Latinos to be in gaming? Why specifically do we need women to be in gaming more and not just anyone to be in gaming more?
We just need to kind of keep the positivity going, and we just need to keep encouraging people to do kick-ass stuff.
I think it has such a positive message of inclusion and diversity.
Well, again, it's strange. Women have never been excluded from gaming like LGBTs or anyone else. Gaming has always been a hobby for whoever wants to take part in it. I've never been excluded from being a nurse. I've never been excluded from being a hairdresser. But why should gaming, either the culture or the media itself, be changed? Why should the creative visions of the producers in the industry be co-opted? To make some group that you've arbitrarily selected, women, be made to feel more included in it, even though by and large, for the most part, women aren't into hardcore gaming like men are. They just don't participate in the culture as much. And that's fine. There's a lot of men who aren't a part of the culture either, and that's fine.
It's wonderful.
Alright, we've got women in gaming, LGBTQ in gaming. Who else is on the docket for today? And again, I'm not going to hold my breath on seeing a whites in gaming video from Xbox or a men in gaming video from Xbox. I am a little curious though, and I've asked myself this, what if the day does come around where, and we see those weird studies that show that most women are female, but they lump in these very super casual mobile games that have nothing to do with video gaming as we know it. I wonder then, if you ever use a study to show that half of gamers are women, or even that there are more women in gaming than men, does that mean that you will no longer need these kinds of conferences and luncheons? Do you think the NBA has to have big meetings and seminars every year trying to figure out how they can be more inclusive to black people? Likewise, I doubt the National Hockey League is having a problem with not having enough whites in the league. So, just the curious thought, if women do get to be the majority of gamers one day, does that mean you can say that mission is accomplished and pack up your bags, go home, disband because you've officially made men the minority in gaming now? For the sake of inclusiveness and diversity, will you yourselves help to fund a men in gaming luncheon? Oh well, just a thought. So there's one more video left, and I wonder what other completely unrelated to gaming attribute people can have that can be used to segment the population and take, you know. Holy shit, they fucking showed Alcatraz prison in the Blacks for Gaming montage. Why would you do that?
It's nice to find help and nice to find other friends that are sort of from the same type of background or know the type of things that you're dealing with.
Because all blacks are the same. They are a monolith. They share a single culture. All of their ideas are identical. Just like white people. Just like gays. Just like Latinos. Just like women. Every single one of them. Even though gaming is the most accepting and the most inclusive and probably the most diverse hobby you could possibly ever find, we still have to find ways to segment the population in this way. Instead of saying, oh, all gamers will be gamers regardless of who they are. None of that matters, just gamers is enough. No, we have to segment it into white gamers, black gamers, Latino gamers, gay gamers, bisexual gamers, women gamers. You can't just have a bunch of gamers getting along. You have to go and make these conferences that actively create splinter groups within a community that should be united. Like, you understand, Xbox, right? That all of these groups you have that you're presenting here, it makes them look worse off because it gives the impression that they need to be around people who look like them or who have the same sexual orientation as them in order to build friendships with other people. These little seminars that you have, Xbox, they make black people look a little bit more racist. They make women look a little more sexist. They make LGBTQ seem a little more bigoted. I know you have the best intentions in mind, but look, let's be honest here. If you guys had a whites in gaming conference and you had a white guy saying, oh, I just need to talk to other whites so we can understand, you know, the white things that white people think. You know, because I just can't connect with other people's experiences if they aren't white like me. How do you think that would go down, Microsoft? Do you think that would look good? Oh, I see they have appropriated the greens in gaming space.
You empower each other.
Based on your skin color. You empower each other, he says. Imagine if it was a whites in gaming conference and a white person was saying, us white people have to empower one another. You know, because of our whiteness.
It tells you that everyone's willing to accept each other and that we know in the future, by being more diverse, we'll make better products.
Now, pardon my skepticism, but how would a diversity of skin color make the products better? I thought products were made better because the individuals who made these products made better decisions. They were smarter or more talented, or they had more moral fiber. If the percentage of gamers who are black went up, what would that do to alleviate the issues we have in gaming right now, which are basically all game-related? You know, the excessive DLCs and pre-order culture, the anti-consumer business models and all that stuff. How would that go away? How would that be solved because a higher percentage of gamers were black? How would that be solved if a higher percentage of gamers were Latino? How would that be solved if they were men or women? Or what does that have to do with anything? It's diversity of thought, the diversity of ideas that can make gaming more creative, more interesting, possibly better. Almost assuredly it would make things better. I might make a video about it later, but in case I don't, there was a game shown at E3 this year called The Last Night, and it looks, well, it's the most interesting looking game that I probably saw at E3. And the dev years and years ago said an anti-feminist thing. You know, because I'm anti-feminist too. Feminism is shit. Now we have Ubisoft devs saying that you should pirate the game. We have other developers saying that we should screen developers so that no one with wrong think gets to make games. This is what's wrong with games, this cult-like behavior that goes on with people that, oh, you don't think like me? Your game should be shut down. You don't think like me? You shouldn't be able to make a game. You don't think like me? You should be fired. You shouldn't be able to develop games. How in the world does more people with black skin mean that the products in the industry will be better? And what's all this nonsense about how you're not accepted? Where in gaming have you not been accepted because you're black, or because you're bisexual, or because you're anything? Where? Where in gaming have you just been shown the door? Or where people have said, oh, your opinions aren't welcome here, or oh, you can't play this game because you're a minority? Where is this stuff going on? Or is this just some sort of idea that you push for some sort of a quota, some sort of a social agenda, some sort of a ideological pseudo-necessity?
Xbox really believes in this sort of a thing and reaching out to many different types of people to get them creating games and playing games. I mean, I want everybody to be in the gaming industry in one way or another.
Then why, Sierra, are you choosing to segment the population like this? One might even use the term segregate. If you want cooperation and inclusion and unification in gaming, why are you taking part in a conference that actively separates black gamers from everyone else? People don't care if you're black or white or green or blue or anything in between. In these conferences, they give the impression that gamers have an issue with this at all. And if you say they do, I would vehemently disagree with you. Why would you take what I would say is the most inclusive hobby of them all? So inclusive about skin color and religion and nationality that it is 100% apathetic to them, as it should be, and then host conferences where you have to have black people telling other black people, we're going to empower you because of our blackness. And what is stopping black people from making video games? I mean, they obviously do. We see black developers, we see women developers. I mean, there's nothing stopping them from doing this. Why do you need to push them into this? Why can't you let them decide what they want to do for themselves? Why do you have to make these kinds of pressures on them? Do you think so little of black people that you don't think that they can make their own decisions about what they do and do not want to do with themselves?
These events attract specifically people who are trying to move forward in some way creatively, technically, artistically.
If they're black. You are right, though. It does target a specific kind of person, specifically a black person. I mean, you would think with a slogan like gaming for everyone, they would only have a single conference that was welcoming of everybody from every race and nationality and everything else. But I guess my idea about inclusion, my idea of everyone is a little bit different than Xbox's. I mean, like, if I was in charge and someone said, hey, we want to put on an event that shows everybody that they're welcome, I wouldn't start going, all right, we need to have a blacks in a gaming conference, and an LGBTQ gaming conference, and a women in gaming conference, and a Latino in gaming conference, and a fucking vegans in gaming conference, but hey, I just make videos on the internet. What do I know? Silly me thinking we should have one get-together to unify everybody. That's not how you get inclusion. You get inclusion by separating these groups individually.
It's very powerful, the energy to be a part of it and to help cultivate it, to sort of give back. I mean, I'm here because of events like this for me.
Events like this for you because you're a gamer or because you're black? Because of something you had no say in or something that you did have a say in? Because of who you are or because of what you are? If you saw a building with 2 doors and one of the doors had a sign that said everyone in gaming and another door that said blacks in gaming, which one would you walk into? Honestly, if I saw a sign above a door that said whites in gaming, I would avoid that door like the 3rd Starship Troopers movie. Because my white, bisexual, atheist, trans canineness doesn't have anything to do with gaming. I would feel restricted from every other facet of the gaming community who wasn't white. All of the non-white gaming friends and all the non-white gaming contributors and content producers that I enjoy and that I listen to, well, how would they feel about me going in there? Would they feel like no matter what they did or no matter what kind of work they put into their content or how much fun we had playing games or the experiences that we've shared in games, would they feel like all of those just weren't enough because they didn't look close enough to me?
Representation in general is important.
Other blacks don't represent you. Newsflash. Other blacks don't represent you just like other whites don't represent me. LGBTQ people, they don't represent me. I don't represent them. I represent myself. End of list. Other white people do not speak on my behalf. Other bisexual people do not speak on my behalf. I speak for myself, and you should speak for yourself, and you shouldn't let other people speak for you. Least of all, just because they share some sort of an aesthetic similarity with you. Does one tall person represent other tall people? No. I don't like the way we use this term representative or represent, alright? Because, again, as I said before, one black person does not represent another black person. Black people in gaming do not represent black people who are not in gaming. I don't see very many bisexual people in games, or at least their bisexuality is not enough of a character trait to where it is relevant, in real life for the most part. For instance, my own bisexuality is only something that really matters when I want it to matter. In day-to-day life, it has nothing to do with basically anything that I do. For me, the idea that my bisexuality, for instance, is something that I have to see shown in games, I almost said represented, but shown in games, is ridiculous. Why does it matter? I mean, in almost every game, with some notable exceptions, but for the most part, across games, the sexuality of characters doesn't mean anything. It's not relevant at all. I like to see bisexuality in gaming if it's relevant because it just opens up more options for me as a player to do. But it's not something I'm going to go to a conference about. It's not something I care about so much I'm going to start making petitions and travel across the country to meet other bisexual people and, I don't know, bitch about how there aren't enough bisexual characters in video games, or make out some faux outrage that gaming won't accept me as a bisexual. Because I can literally not point to any time that gaming as a hobby cast me aside or restricted me from enjoying anything or doing anything because I like to fuck dudes and chicks. Because I see content creators and video game players of all colors. Well, it's C's, you know what I mean. So, clearly there's nothing standing in the way of them enjoying games as much as me. Which makes me wonder where all of this faux concern comes from. And when it comes to the people making the games, well, I don't give a shit who the color of the person was who made the game. Is the game good? That's what I care about.
There has been a bit more emphasis put on representation lately, like as developers. If you can get more diverse creators making more interesting things from different points of view.
Well, if the idea is to get as many people developing games from as many points of view as possible, then why are you restricting yourself to an event called Blacks in Gaming? Are you suggesting, this is insane, are you suggesting that their value as a creator, their value as a content producer, their value as a video game developer ultimately comes down to their blackness? Because if not, then that would mean this conference is utterly pointless.
Then that's a net win for everybody.
It's just an amazing experience. It's just people need to see that. They need to see representation. They need to see inclusion.
What? No. What? Why? What? No, they don't. Why? Why would you need to see yourself represented in things? Is it just me, or does that come across as something really selfish, full of projection? Like, you know what my favorite movie is of all time? My favorite movie of all time is a South Korean film, Masquerade, from 2012, directed by Chu Chang-min. I have seen a lot of movies in my time, but this is the best of them all. This is my favorite movie of all time. And guess what? There's not a single white person in here. There's not even a single word of English. But the acting is superb, the story is incredible, the characters are unforgettable. I don't need to see the representation of my skin color or even my language in order to fall in love with something. Why would another human being have to be like me for me to relate to them? For me to sympathize with them? I know a lot of the times I come across as callous and sassy, but deep down, I'm a big softie. As some people can attest to more than others. But I shed a tear watching this movie, and it made me laugh. I cared about what was happening. I cared about the people. I empathized with them, even though they weren't white. So when you say you need to see representation or you need to see inclusion, I don't believe that for 1 second. I think this is the kind of idea that someone told you you need to see, and you bought into it. You took it in, and then you started to believe it. Enough people told you that you have to see people like yourself, instead of actually seeing the merits and the characters and the internal parts of who people are. If you can't relate to others, or if you can't put yourself into their shoes because they don't have the same skin tone as you, well, maybe that says more about you than it says about video games.
So I think it's really awesome.
The fact that Microsoft did this is fantastic. There you say is a highlight of my GDC.
Yeah, being around all these people who look like me, you know, that's the highlight of my GDC. That's... It's like, hey, Rags, what was your highlight of going to E3? I was like, it was when I was talking to all the white people. Yeah, you see how ridiculous that sounds? Well, that wraps all the videos up that I wanted to talk about. But before we finish this video, I wanted you guys to take a listen to another YouTuber that I enjoy, named Appabend. He made a video about these clips from Xbox, and I think one segment of his video in particular is worth a listen for everyone.
It's odd, isn't it? Seeing these people separating themselves from who they are, a gamer, into what they are. Blacks, women, Latinos, LGBT. I don't get it. You already found something in common. Why not share it together with everyone else? Why not have fun with everyone else? Why create an event in which you can only interact with people who are the same as you? I find this concept of separating yourselves in order to become more inclusive is so weird. If women are passionate enough for gaming, they can hang out just as well with the guys. Yes, it just so happens that the gaming hobby is populated by men, according to so many research on gaming demographics out there. Some are more skewed than others, but we don't mind women playing video games. We don't mind black people playing video games. That's cool. Why these unnecessary separations? What are you trying to prove? What if somebody decided to make a men only, or white only, or straight only? Are you trying to say that gaming is populated by straight white men? That is true if you're living in Western countries. How is that a problem? Are you guys being kicked out of the hobby? Are there people who say, go home gamer girl, or out of gaming you insert racial slur here? If there really is a problem of racism, sexism, and homophobia in gaming, I don't think separating yourselves into different groups based on your physical characteristics or sexual preferences is a brave way to rebel against the system. In fact, it's very cowardice and spineless. You're fighting discrimination by running away instead of confronting them head on. In my opinion, the best way to rebel against the system is to actually hang out with the straight white man. And if one told you any sexist or racist things, you can tell them to screw off, and this is my hobby, so freaking deal with it.